When there was a bomb threat called into the Boston Children's Hospital, it didn't take a genius to figure out what it was. It was sort of the natural conclusion of a misinformation harassment campaign that had been waged by people like libs of TikTok and right wing commentators. So it wasn't surprising, but many immediately leaped out to tell you that's not what it is. Not that. Don't believe it. We're not responsible. People like Matt Walsh, who are demonizing that specific hospital, saying, I would like to know what false alarm means exactly. Police are being coy about it. Plenty of reason to wonder whether false alarm really means a leftist hoax. Certainly lots of precedent for that. So they demonize, spreading misinformation about supposedly what, sort of trans-related medical procedures are being done there, just blatantly lying and demonizing this individual establishment. A bomb threat is called in, and they immediately say, oh, you know who's responsible? The leftists. Well, wouldn't that be convenient? He went on to say in one of his broadcasts, the first question you should ask yourself is, who benefits from this? Does the right benefit from a bomb threat to Boston Children's? Do I benefit? Does the libs of TikTok benefit? Obviously not. The left reaps all the benefits here because they can use this to deplatform or try to deplatform people like myself, which is exactly what they did and have been doing. So, I don't know. That's what we have some dots there. Can we connect them? So first of all, whether the right actually benefits from the bomb threat is literally irrelevant. You benefit by the demonizing. You benefit by giving your community the red meat, giving them something to hate. If they then go off and bomb something or shoot someone, I don't think you care at all about that. You're fine with it. I don't think that's the point for you. It's the demonizing and the distracting. It's a necessary consequence of your chosen political strategy, Matt Walsh. And the bomb threat was called in, and what do you know? Not a leftist hoax. So a woman has been arrested for it. By the way, when the announcement of the arrest was made, this is all Walsh had to say. He did a whole monologue about how it was a leftist hoax. When he finds out someone has been arrested, he just tweeted out, good news, glad they caught the person. Will he be changing the way that he talks about these issues going forward? Of course not, because again, he's fine with bomb threats. He'd be fine with the bombing. He doesn't care at all. This is a useful tool to keep right-wingers freaked out constantly, so right-wingers will stay in power, taxes will stay low, they'll give more tax cuts to rich people. That's all that this is really about. If a few doctors and nurses get blown up, that's just collateral damage, quite literally. But anyway, what we do know about the individual is it's Catherine Levy, a 37-year-old, who called in this threat saying there's a bomb on the way to the hospital. You better evacuate everybody, you sickos. So yeah, you get the idea of who she is. Anyway, we don't know a lot about this individual, but there is a woman with the same name in Westfield, Massachusetts, who donated to former President Donald Trump's 2020 campaign and the Republican National Committee nearly 150 times over the course of the summer and fall of 2020, amounting to a few $1,000s. 150 political donations is a lot for a lifetime, I think. And there's an individual. It might not be the same person, or it might obviously be the exact same person. Anyway, it looks like it is what it was. An individual actually did that. They thought the doctors and nurses were sickos who are butchering children, and that's why they decided to do this bomb scare.
This is the party that is supposedly pro-life, that is supposedly against harming children, that believes that there's some sort of pedophile ring that the Democrats run. And now they're calling in bomb threats to a hospital, a children's hospital, where children are, not just nurses and doctors, children undergoing treatment for cancer, for pediatrics, anything. They're just going for a checkup. This is literally full of children, but it does not matter. It does not matter to them because transgender people, that's it. Because groomers, I mean, honestly, we're seeing between the anti-trans hate and the anti-abortion legislation that's coming down, a very terrifying, I mean, God, as if this medical system in this country couldn't get any more terrifying. Yeah. We're seeing an extreme politicization of it. And now it's not only affecting people with uteruses, it's affecting kids. It's affecting all kinds of doctors and nurses who, by the way, are emerging from a pandemic, or sort of trying to emerge. I mean, it's done if you ask Joe Biden. Emerging from a pandemic where they have been run roughshod over, have not been given more resources, and don't necessarily have preparation for the next pandemic, to say nothing of crazies like this. So I'm totally disgusted by all that. But also, I love how Matt Walsh and other people on the right like have no idea that, like, you guys know that y'all do political violence all the time.
Yep.
That, like, the imagining someone actually bombing this hospital is totally within purview of what you guys spew and spout every single day.
Yeah. Yeah,
Like,
the only thing that seems more likely is them wanting to use an AR-15 to do it, because that's a part of the fantasy, I suppose. But yeah,
right.
and it'll continue, because until they get bored with this, they can keep doing this all day, because it's all made up. They look on Google Maps, they choose a hospital, they say they're butchering kids, and then that's it. And then they send people at them. And then they find, oh, here's let's look up, okay, second grade, and this, okay, here's a teacher. This teacher is trying to groom your kids. They just pluck individuals and buildings out of anonymity and then lift them up and say, everyone hate this. It's the 2-minute hate from 1984. That's all it is. And if it gets people killed, it gets people killed. That's all it is. And we'll also remind you, we were talking about QAnon before. That's all this is. Now, Matt Walsh doesn't say when we go all to close his show, but he is specifically appealing to QAnoners. Everyone in the right now agrees, whether they put a Q on their shirt or not. Yeah, the Democrats are all satanic pedophiles. They're all eating and sleeping with children, and we need to save the children. So for some of them, they've stripped the label off, but it's just QAnon. And that is the motivating factor for basically all right-wing thought these days.